Hello, how you doing? David Barron here, also known as Dentalian Jones. I got some interesting stuff. A friend of mine sent me a document that is no longer in print. He found it, he did his research. It's called, I don't know if you read that, How to Separate and Integrate Multiple Personalities. The author is a hypnotist. His name is Cline. And this is interesting for a couple of different reasons. First of all, it is right there on the freaky end of hypnosis where you create an alternate personality. It is also very therapeutic. It's also super advanced. So there are some things that I personally haven't done this, but everything that I read about it absolutely seems possible. So I want to just talk about it and maybe open up a discussion here. If there are any questions, I'll certainly answer them as best I can. But it starts off with Cline, Cline Clark is his name, talking about his personal experience in World War II. He was in the Navy, and at some point he was found wandering without knowing what was going on, not knowing who he was, not knowing how he got there, and just because he had a naval uniform on, he started to figure out that he was in the Navy. So somehow he had dissociated his personality. He went into what's called a fugue state. And he had very little memory of what happened while he was in this fugue state. That got him curious about hypnosis, about dissociation, about multiple personalities, and creating these fugue states. And he was a very skilled hypnotist by all appearances. And he decided to he created an actual therapeutic process, which is very interesting, in which you close down the front personality, you open up another one, you create solutions, and then you let them go. Now, I just want to describe this process as best I can. Of course, if I don't describe it well enough, let me know. I will talk about it in some detail. First of all, what he recommends is you do this only after working with somebody for at least three sessions. They need to be comfortable working with you. They need to be familiar with the hypnosis process. They need to have some positive existing results. And you, as the hypnotist, need to know that they are nicely somnambulistic. The next step is, during this third process, you start by doing an induction. And this is a hand spinning induction, where they go like this, and then you switch, and you go like this, and you switch back and forth. I provided some links, some YouTube links, if anyone is unfamiliar with that. Again, this is not something I have practiced, but I've seen it done, and I've done it. And from that point on, you get them eyes open, doing this spinning, going back and forth, and you create a series of questions. And the questions create an agreement. Prior to this induction, you make sure there's catalepsy and things like that. And so, with their eyes open, their hands are spinning around furiously like this, and automatically, and you ask a series of very leading questions. And the first question is, are your arms moving but you aren't doing it? Isn't that so? You get agreement from the client. Then you say, if you aren't controlling your arms, someone else is controlling it. Isn't that so? And of course, you would probably lead by nodding your head and raising your eyebrows. Isn't that so? And you get agreement and affirmation from the client. Then you say, you could focus attention somewhere else or even go to sleep while your arms continue to rotate, couldn't you? And they nod their head, yes. And it follows, I want to talk not to you, but to the influence that is controlling your arms. Do you understand? And again, you get a yes. And so you say, in a moment, I'm going to say hello. When I say hello, three things will happen. First, you will drift into a pleasant, dreamy, drowsy slumber, deeper than you have ever known before. Second, your arms will stop rotating and let your hands gently come to a rest comfortably on your lap. Third, the controller who is rotating the arms will open his or her eyes and say hello to me. Do you understand what your deep mind will do? And you pause, get an affirmation from the client who's doing this. And then you say, are you ready now? And the client says yes. And then you say hello. And you shut up. You wait for the client to stop moving their arms. Their eyes may go down and their eyes will open up again. And at that point, you are not talking to the client anymore. You're talking to that part of the mind separate from the client that was rotating the arms. Now, he has a relatively detailed, well, not so detailed, it's simple process to do this therapeutically. And maybe I'll try and talk about that a little bit more. Essentially, he uses that first part, that first personality, to be the gateway to all the other personalities that are doing certain things. And as he talks to this first personality, he asks for the other person, the other personality that is doing, say, smoking, needs to talk to that part. And then you tell this part to stop smoking. You then thank them, talk to the gateway personality, and then you go to the bring them out of hypnosis, and the client has no memory of what is going on. Okay, so when you ever think of, I have a devious mind, I'm sure most hypnotists seem to as well. So when you start thinking about doing, creating alternate personalities, you have a huge sort of way of directions you can go, good and bad, helpful and not helpful. So what I would recommend is if you have skill at this, you're welcome to test it out to see if you can get someone rolling their arms like this, give them the instructions, and see if you can get that other personality. From that, it would be very interesting to see what can happen. You could create this alternate personality, but he goes through an entire process of getting all the personalities that are creating certain problems, negotiating with each personality to stop the problem, introducing them all back to one another, and then bringing them all back into the main personality, the front personality. And in those cases, sometimes the client will have memories of what's going on, but often not. So it gets really interesting. It gets really weird. If some of you guys want to try this out with people, I'd be happy to walk you through it. I have agreed not to share this document. The fact is that the document is just a 36-page document that is downloaded. And what I would recommend you do is if you search for it through this, the information that I gave you, you might find it on archive.org. There might be some people who have it. It's not something that I can, in good faith and in trust, because I promised to share it. I promised not to share it. I can't give out. But if you want to get in discussions with me about this very interesting process of creating alternate personalities. It honestly isn't that hard when you're working with someone who is comfortable with hypnosis, who has had good response and can follow your instructions and feels comfortable. So I am wide open here. If you have any questions, go ahead and post them below, send them to me, introduce yourself. My name is David Barron. Please check out the Facebook page, the Advanced Hypnosis Skills Group, which this is posted on, and also go to mindcontrolpublishing.com. That's my website. So I will hopefully have some interesting things going on here as well. Thank you guys for watching. Take care. Bye.